Go ahead.
Welcome into a little late night edition of Pressbox Live and Stan the Fan from Pressbox, PressBoxOnline.com, along with our managing editor at Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. That is Mr. Luke Jackson. And Luke, got a little baseball news tonight.
I was basking in the glow of a second consecutive win by Buzz Williams and the Maryland Terrapins when the news hit that Chris Bassitt is now an Oriole.
Yeah. Um, Not as exciting as we'd hoped 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, when
Right.
it looked like there was this momentum to spend on the high side of things. But when you when you hit when you hit um, the number and you've got six decent starting pitchers now,
hmm
uh, I think it's a solid move. It's not as exciting as Framber Valdez. It doesn't vault the Orioles over anybody just yet. But Luke, what I like about this move, I think it clarifies the Tyler Wells situation.
hmm
And I think you and I are in agreement that Tyler Wells could be one of the more important arms out of the Orioles bullpen
hmm
and be available to do that.
100% agree. On Bassett, we'll start with him.
Yeah.
He is 36 years old. He is a professional starting pitcher. He eats innings. He throws like six or seven different kind of pitches. He throws a lot of strikes. He's going to keep your team in games. He's not going to kill the bullpen. And I mean, and he's done that for a long time. And you look at the
He's
last, go ahead.
he's got since 21, 157 innings, 181 and two-thirds innings, 200 innings in 23, 181, excuse me, 171, and then 170 in the third innings. His ERA's 3.15, 3.42, 3.60, 4.16, and 3.96 this past year. He's not gonna he's not gonna give you what Trevor Rogers gave you the second half of last year, but like you say, he's gonna keep his teams in the game, and this is a perfect guy that matches what should be an improved offense. Luke.
Yes, and the start totals and the innings totals that you mentioned are very important for a team that has Kyle Bradish coming back off of surgery. He only threw what, like 30 some odd innings
Yeah,
last year in the major leagues. Trevor Rogers didn't throw a full season in the major leagues last year. Um, Shane Baz threw, I believe, like 166 innings last year, but not many the year prior to that, if any. And then, so I think it's important to have someone whose innings you don't have to watch at all.
yeah. I
You
think
could,
I
yeah,
think he's going to be between 160 and 180, somewhere in that range
yeah.
this
If all
year.
things go well,
Yeah,
and this, what this could also do if somehow all six of these starters get to the end of camp healthy, and I don't know what the chances are of that. Probably
yeah.
not great, but you could actually slow play Eflin in that case.
Well, I think he was going to be slow played anyway in the month of April.
Right.
I think he's really a guy that they're counting on starting right about April 20th to May 1st.
And I really think that they think that Eflin with a healthy back is going to be the guy that they thought they were trading for a couple years ago.
Yeah, I
And
would
I,
agree
I
with that.
and you know, with Eflin and also with Kittredge, they acquired those guys thinking that they were going to get one thing, and then health wise, it just didn't work out for those guys. Now I feel like Mike thinks, okay, I can get the real versions of those guys this year.
Yeah. So again, it's not as exciting to me as Valdez or Suarez. It's not even as exciting to me as Gallon would have been, but there are things I think I like about Bassett better than Gallon. I don't think he's going to give up the potential home run numbers that a Gallon
What about
possibly could.
as exciting as trading for Freddie Peralta?
Well, that would have been a really strong move, but I
Mhm.
don't think the Orioles had the attractiveness to give the Brewers after we made the Boz trade.
Right.
I don't think we had the ammunition to pull that trade off. I don't
Yeah.
think
Okay.
they found much great interest in Ryan Mountcastle. They
Hmm.
didn't, and I'm not saying the Brewers needed a Ryan Mountcastle. They got theirs last year when they acquired Andrew Vaughn. The guy that you would have hoped would have had more trade value this offseason would have been Kobe Mayo.
Yeah, and I was actually discussing that with somebody yesterday. I said if there was any chance that he could play third base, I think he would have some trade value.
Yeah.
But he's really probably locked into that first base DH kind of role, and you've really got to mash in order to be an effective player, valuable player there. And there's not enough there to tell us that he's going to do that.
Yeah. And I got to be honest with you, the way that this roster is shaping up and the way that you got to believe that Craig Albernaz doesn't want to go into the season with his bench being Tyler O'Neill,
Mhm.
Ryan Mountcastle, Kobe Mayo, and
Right,
Sammy Saya. Now we know that Blaze Alexander, we're going to talk a little bit
right.
about him later. So that's a different fit. But I think the way this roster looks right now, unless Kobe Mayo really hits 430, hits 6, 7 home runs this spring, and really smashes the ball, I think he could very well end up back at Norfolk.
Oh, I think you're absolutely correct. I think that could absolutely happen, and I'm sure he won't be happy about it. But ultimately, he doesn't really have a whole lot of say in the matter because he's
Yeah,
got minor league options.
yeah. So that's the way I'm seeing it right now. And again, we want to remind folks that we're brought to you by the Costas Inn with two great locations. The original location, 4100 North Point Boulevard. I had Josh Lewin on the other night, and he hasn't had steamed crabs in a long time.
We're going to
So
change that this summer, huh?
I said, we're going to find a night off and we're going to head out to the Costas Inn with Luke Jackson
Get
and
Ross up
have
here
some.
too.
Maybe Ross will be there.
It'll be an event.
We'll make a night
Get
of
on
it.
a plane, Ross. Let's go.
That's it. That's it. That's it. So anyway, what was interesting is I had just about 8 o'clock, 8:30. I had just watched a Baltimore Sun video of Mike Elias
Hmm.
talking about how deep this starting rotation is,
Hmm.
and we're going to be monitoring we're going to be monitoring this and that, and there's some possibilities of a trade and external options, but we're very happy. We've got a very strong rotation.
And
Well, I think
meantime, he's dotting the I's and crossing the T's on Bassett.
right. Well, I'll give him. I'll give him. He's not Howard Lutnick, who hadn't seen Jeffrey Epstein since 2005. It's a disgusting person, and then they caught him. It was almost as bad as Rafael Palmeiro when he said, "I never took steroids," and then he failed his next urine test. But anyway, I wouldn't call him that much of a liar, but he did a pretty good job at convincing me that he at least thought that he had enough arms.
Yeah, he did qualify that at the end of that little snippet that they are still looking, and there's a reason why they're
Yeah,
still looking.
yeah,
So, and obviously at the time they were probably closing in on Bassett. I don't know how long it takes these deals to come to fruition. I'm guessing that was in the hopper for a little while.
yeah. A 1 year deal, eight no option or anything like that. It's an $18.5 million deal, I believe,
18 and a half with some
with
incentives.
with an incentive making 27 starts. He's done the last five
Right.
years, so
Which if he stays healthy, there's no reason to think he won't do that.
no. But again, Luke and I are talking about it. I think Luke, uh, we've talked about it. We knew that they needed more in the bullpen, and I'm not saying they still don't, but suddenly Helsley, Kittredge, Wells,
Right.
Aiken, Ends, Cano, and Garcia doesn't look so bad.
I think they need another left-hander, and I think you would probably agree with that.
I would definitely.
And I think there's a possibility for me still that perhaps that first base corner DH logjam could be solved by flipping a bat for perhaps a left-handed reliever with some control.
Yeah.
Years of control, not like, you know.
I mean, I think the perfect fit would be the Mountcastle for JoJo Romano trade. Would solve, you know, I don't know who the Cardinals are anticipating playing at first base this year,
Mhm.
but that fan base out in St. Louis could fall in love with Mountie. You know, they could
Like you
fall.
have.
Yes, sort of, sort of. Um, so all things considered, assuming this is the last major personnel move of the year, because I wouldn't call the left-hander a major move.
That could be done later in camp.
That could be done later in camp or even the first month of the season. But let's go back to grading um, Mike Elias. A solid B,
You
B
go B
plus,
plus.
B plus.
Very solid offseason.
Yeah,
Very, and I think he addressed most of what he needed done. I
picked
know
up
early in the
three, picked up three decent starting pitching. In
right. It
Eflin,
was I'm giving you
Oz.
B plus rather than an A because it was he landed the plane a little rocky. It was a little rocky landing
Yeah,
of that plane this offseason, but he was able to accomplish most of what he set out to do.
all right. Let me talk a little bit about the Costas Inn, okay? Where
Thumbs are
our
always
thumbs
up
are
for
there.
Costas.
All right, thumbs are up for the Costas Inn. 4100 North Point Boulevard. If you want to have a little crab feast with your friends and family, the Costas Inn is the place to do it. 410-477-1975. Call out there, get your reservation in, find out the size of the crabs, the cost of the crabs, and the availability so you're not disappointed. The days of walking into a crab house and automatically, hey, we want 2 dozen crabs, and knowing that they're going to be there, you better call first. 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn. Same great menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Second location now open for about 3.5 months. Costas Inn at Timonium. It's right there on the fairgrounds, up above the grandstand of the racetrack, right next to the OTB. They're open for lunch and dinner. Great menu, great family atmosphere. You'll love the Costas Inn. Trust me, you will. Luke, going back to the Orioles now, I I pegged them when I thought they really were going to sign a big time starting pitcher, for $35 million. I thought they were going to be much nearer like a 185, 190. They're going to come in actually, I think, under what they spent last year
I
to
think it'll be
start the
over.
season.
I think it was going to be similar prior to this deal,
Okay,
and
so
the
this is
the payroll numbers are different depending on what sites you
okay.
look at. I think
I
it'll be
thought I had
well.
heard that
I think after the Bassett deal, it'll be well above. I think it'll be
so
like
it'll be
15
like
to 20.
one close to 180.
I think so. Off the top
Okay.
of my head.
All right.
That's I'm just
Having
doing it off the
said
top of my
that,
head.
having said that, if you looked at if you looked at all the practical things that Mike Elias could have done this off season,
Hmm.
I think a glaring miss by Mike Elias is, and he alluded to the fact that we've got Trevor Rogers this year for a whole year.
Hmm.
And I said, yeah, you got him for a whole year this year. And even if he's only 75 to 80% what he was last
Hmm.
year, do you like do you like it if Trevor Rogers goes 14-9 with a 3.3 ERA, pitches 185 innings?
Oh, he's going to get $25 million a year.
And do you think he would have gotten 25 million this off season?
Uh, oh, if you were a free agent or from the
No,
Orioles
if the
specific?
Orioles had been proactive, and
No,
I still think
no.
there's a window. I think there's a window where they could offer him security.
Yeah,
I think
you can
45
do
million
extensions prior to
dollars.
opening day. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think 45 to $50 million is a figure for 3 years where you pay him, you tear up this year's contract
Right.
and give him like 13 and 17 for the next 2 years, and then a 20 million for the third year, an option with a buyout going into the third year. That gives him $33 million guaranteed. I don't know that Trevor Rogers, who's only made about 6 or 7 million in his career, is going to walk away from that certainty to roll the dice that he's going to be gangbusters.
Yeah, this is actually something that you unearthed in one of your columns last summer, but the most Trevor Rogers had been paid prior to this year's ARB settlement
Right.
was actually the 3 or so million he signed for out of
With
high
the
school
Marlins. With
with
the
the
Marlins.
Marlins when he was 17 or 18 years old.
Right. He has
And
made
so,
no real money in Major League Baseball. And I think the combination, he's very grateful to the Oriole organization right now. I mean,
mhm.
he said he was glowing about that at the end of last year. I think it's a glaring miss by the ball club that shows me that there's a disconnect with sort of wanting to extend your own players. And I don't know quite what it is, but I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's a
a
miss.
yeah, it's a little bit of a situation where maybe they don't really feel like last year was real from him. But
So,
in that
so
case, why wouldn't you be more aggressive to upgrade your rotation this year if you don't think last
right.
year
Why
was
wouldn't
real?
you have
Yeah,
even considered? Why wouldn't you have even, if you didn't think it was real,
sell high.
maybe he's the guy that could have been traded.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but the most risk averse move would probably be to do nothing, which oftentimes is what they settle on, is just to play out the string.
yeah.
You know,
And I think it's going to turn out to be a pretty expensive. I hope it turns out to be pretty expensive. That means he could win 14 to 18 games this year
get
and
some Cy
be
Young votes. Yeah,
get a couple Cy Young votes and really establish himself, and then put the screws to the Orioles and sign with
yeah. Because I mean, if he has the season that you outlined there, he's
yeah,
going to make $25 million a year in free agency because he'll
yeah,
still be fairly young. I
yeah,
think he'll next year he'll be pitching at 29, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty young for a free agent starter.
yeah. So anyway, that was my soapbox, and I might write that
It's a good
tonight.
column.
It sounds like a good column. Luke, the other day, it was like a little bit of a head scratcher. Before I looked up his numbers, the acquisition of one Blaze Alexander,
Hmm.
and they gave up the one pitcher that they've developed to be a major league pitcher in Cade Stroud, and somebody I had penciled in as one of the arms in the bullpen.
It's a great arm. Got great stuff.
He's got good stuff. But it looks like Mike Elias had a horseshoe up his, you know what. What do you think of Blaze Alexander now?
Well, they knew that Westberg would be slow played in spring training when they made that move, which makes sense. They did not know that Jackson Holliday was going to basically break his hand the next day. They
Yeah,
did not know that. However, with that being said, looks
maybe
like
Mike
plays.
Elias, maybe he's put some money into
Oh,
some
that's where David
analytics.
Rubenstein's money is going?
Yeah, he's got some
Predicting injuries?
analytics in
Oh.
the mysticism side.
So it looks like old Blaze is going to be the opening day second baseman.
It sure
You know, for
does.
what I mean, I don't know who else it would be. And it also seems at this point, at least to me, that we were talking about how they need to find a left-handed reliever. I think they need to find an infielder, like a reserve infielder who could play a legit shortstop because Jackson Holliday was going to open the season, it seemed, as the backup shortstop.
Yeah,
And they don't have that right now because Blaze can't play short, really.
no.
Jeremiah Jackson can't play short. Um, and even
Westberg, if
he
you were
can't play
really,
short.
he's not a short.
Right. So I think that's one thing they have to address.
Okay,
I don't really know
interesting.
a whole lot about Blaze Alexander other than he does have a history of hitting lefties,
Yeah,
and he's pretty good at second, pretty good at third, can play some outfield. And he might be like a version of Jeremiah Jackson, who maybe not as much of a bat as Jeremiah, but more of a glove. So like a
Yeah.
different version of that.
One other thing now that this does, this takes the pressure off of Craig Albertaz to follow in Tony Mansolino's footsteps and make Jackson Holiday,
For the next
who
decade,
seemed
right?
ill,
I thought Tony had already penciled him in as the leadoff guy for the next
right.
decade.
He's going to
So
be the leadoff hitter for 10 years, but his on base percentage was like about 310. Um, Taylor Ward, leadoff hitter.
ooh, yeah, especially if you're going to hit Cowser ninth,
Yeah,
because because you would want a right-handed hitter following him. Yeah, that makes some sense to me.
yeah,
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
could see that. Absolutely.
And I think it takes the pressure off a Holiday being in that spot. Maybe in the not too distant future, earning that spot,
Yeah,
but not being anointed that
right,
at such a young
right.
age, you know.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, I'm excited this year to go down to spring training. I know you won't be down there. I'm going to try not to have a car accident this year in the
that's
state
good.
of Florida, which isn't always easy. But uh, what are some of the things you're looking for? I know number one for
Hmm.
me is I've got to see Adley Rutschman look more like Adley
Yep.
Rutschman.
And a lot of this season hinges on Adley looking like the version that we saw from 22 to the halfway point of 24. A lot of the season hinges on that. An alarmingly big amount of this hinges on that. I want to see if Basayo has made strides defensively. Yeah, I didn't love his defense last year, and I really didn't love his defense when he was catching like his third game in 4 days or his fourth game in 5 days. Got really sloppy. He's not going to be asked to catch probably more than about 60
Twice a
games
week.
this year,
Yeah.
twice a week, exactly, right in there. But he needs to be a little better defensive. He's got a good arm. He's got plenty of arm for the position, but he's got to become a cleaner receiver that veteran pitchers can trust. And
Okay.
so I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Another one for me, other than the things that we mentioned about needing another reliever in the bullpen, another infielder. Um, what else? What else?
How about Albert Suarez to see if there's any life left in that right shoulder?
I hope there is, because if there is, he can help him. He certainly helped him in 24, and the fact that they didn't have him as like a swing guy last year, that probably lost him a few games, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean,
it showed up.
the game that comes to mind right away was the game where they had an 8-0 lead
Yeah,
down in Tampa.
yeah.
And if they had like an Albert Suarez type who could just throw 3 innings and give up 3 runs or something like that, they win that game. And like there were probably a few games like that where he could have really helped them.
That's a frustrating. There's no question about it. Well, it's going to
Um,
be interesting. I'm also interested to see Colton Cowser.
Big year
Interested to
for him.
see.
Big year for, and certainly seems like the Orioles are giving him a mulligan after last year
Yeah,
and are allowing him, and are going to give him a lot of run in center field. It's a big year for him to show that last year was mostly injuries and mostly a fluke. Let's see it.
yeah.
Um,
I know there's pressure on players by countries to play in the WBC. I think Tyler O'Neill is off his gourd, uh, not being in camp this year.
hopefully he makes it through the World Baseball Classic clean. If not, honestly, no one's going to be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
So,
see. All right. We wanted to hop on and talk about this. All things considered, I think it's a net a win for the Baltimore Orioles,
yeah, it helps the Orioles. Yeah,
rounding out
absolutely.
their rotation. You
Yeah,
know, and again, one of the things that's amazing, Luke, in just the last week, well, we've got Shane Bieber is going to be out for
right.
God knows how long. Anthony Santander, uh, Corbin Carroll has
Feel
got a
terrible for
Hammett.
Tony. He's a good kid,
Yeah,
and it just hasn't worked out for him in Toronto. Feel bad for him.
yeah. I agree. You got Corbin Carroll out in Arizona's got a Hammett.
Hmm.
You got Jackson Holiday with a Hammett. You
Hmm.
got Westberg already with an oblique.
Francisco Lindor with a Hammett.
Lindor with a hammock.
It used to be that camp's opening was this very cheerful thing, but now it
Yeah,
seems like
now it's
GMs are like the Grim Reaper now, telling you
yeah,
all about all the off-season injuries
yeah.
at the beginning of camp. That's just the way it goes now.
All right. Phillies or who's going to sign Zach Gallen now? Phillies, the Mets,
I'm guessing he goes back to
or the
Arizona.
Atlanta Braves.
Oh, my first guess said he goes back to Arizona and re-enters the market next offseason, if there is a next offseason.
Without
Um,
a qualifying
right.
offer.
Without a qualifying. That would be my guess.
Okay.
But Braves would be interesting. Schwellenbach, that's another key injury. I don't know if
Yep.
he's going to pitch this
Schwellenbach's
year.
out for at least 60 days.
And so,
Uh, I
I,
think Atlanta and the Phillies are starters short. Zach Wheeler, it was announced, isn't going to be ready opening
did you
day.
see the
Big
Phillies
surprise.
are telling Castellanos don't even show up to camp?
I've
Is he
heard
that
that.
unpleasant?
It
Or
got
would he be that unpleasant? I don't
it
know.
it got pretty ugly with him. I think he was pretty popular with his teammates, but he and Rob Thompson didn't see eye to eye.
And they picked
Uh,
Rob.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they're getting rid of him. Uh,
And
yeah,
so I think they've tried all offseason to find a landing spot for him, find a taker, someone who will take, a couple million off the salary for the obligation, but
right.
no takers, no bites. So they're
It
probably going to have to cut him.
sounds like a Tampa Ray or Rockies move.
Speaking of the Rockies, how do you
Yes,
think our old buddy Tomo is going to do at Coors?
can't think of a worse place for Tamayuki Sagano to end up.
Boy, the Rockies need some innings, huh?
Yeah, he'll eat up a few innings.
He'll give you some innings.
Yeah, he'll give you some innings. Some he'll give you some crooked innings. That was it. That was one I didn't see coming. You know, I thought he was going to end up hightailing it back to
I
Japan,
mean, God bless the
but I
guy.
think he
Like,
will. Look, he was a nice guy. Clearly knows how to pitch. He's just, he
it
didn't
would have
have
been
an
nice
out.
to see him
He
over
does.
here 5 years ago.
Yeah, he doesn't have an out pitch at this point.
Right, right,
Should have come to the majors 5 years ago. Yeah.
right.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Luke and I will be back probably next Monday, right, Luke?
Yeah, we have Liam Bowen, UMBC's
That's
baseball
right.
coach on the show, and we're going to ask him, how do you get a baseball team ready in this weather? And it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. And so
Yeah.
we'll ask him about that and his team this year.
I heard Craig Alvarez yesterday in his presser, which I didn't know that was going to be available to
Uh-huh.
the local media, um, talking about wanting to get his players out in the sun because
Right.
to get some vitamin D or vitamin C. What do you get from the sun? Vitamin C? I think it's C, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it C or D? I don't remember. All right, buddy. We'll talk soon. What time we doing Liam Bowen?
Five.
Five
5 o'clock
o'clock on.
on the 16th.
All right. Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, you bet.
Thanks to the Costas Inn. Thanks to Luke Jackson for hopping on and talking about the Orioles acquisition of Chris Bassitt. That's with two S's, an I, and two T's. Don't forget the two S's and the two T's. All right. Right, Luke?
Right.
All right. Talk to you soon.